So, um, they redirected her, Miss GR, and they asked her um, what was her relationship to Mr. Lalone, and she was a girlfriend. They dated 2.5 years, and they asked her if he owns a pocket knife. She said yes, it's a knife that folds, a folding knife, a little one. And she said yes, he did own one. She believed, because they asked her what color it was, she said, I believe it was black or gray or black. It was just a little folding knife. They asked her how long the blade was. She's like, just a little, maybe your index finger. It wasn't that very small, wasn't that very big. So then they showed, they wanted to show her some pictures. So they identified some pictures to her. The court asked her that they were going to show her what marks are on the people, 1 and 2, and they asked her, can you tell me the description, what they are, what are those pictures of? They said his tattoo, his beginning, so it's pictures of Will's tattoos that he has. They said, the court asked her, now you didn't take those pictures, but you're also to identify them as being his tattoo. She said, correct, I did not take those pictures, but I know what they are because I've seen them. So the court wanted to remove the omission of people 1 and 2. The judge, Ms. Tissue, said no objection of purpose for exam. They will be received. They said, all right, thank you. That's all the questions they have. They asked Miss Tissue if she would like to re-examine her. She said no. The court said, let me see the photos, please, again. They told her now she can move and stuff. They asked, now you said you moved from the couch to the mattress on the floor. They re-examined her. She didn't know what time. It was probably around 10, 11 o'clock maybe at night. They asked her, how many times did Mr. Lalone wake up during that time? She said maybe 5 times. She didn't really know. They're like, well, how can you say that if you really don't know? And she's like, I don't know. I was sleeping most of the time. They were just trying to get her to coerce and make her lie. They asked her if he was doing anything. She said, I remember him talking to Mr. L and Mr. BJ at the table, smoking, drinking. They asked her what was the reason he kept getting up. He woke up 4 or 5 times to tell you that he loved you. Yeah, and she's like, well, yeah, but also he had to go pee, and he wanted to smoke, and his brother was coming over, so and they're like, well, actually it was his friend, MM. he, Mr. Lalone, finally woke up when his friend got there, Mr. MM, and told me that he loved me, he would see me later. So yeah, she asked what was the other reason he woke up that he gave. The witness said because I got mad at him that he just disappeared. Yes. But he came back later and told me he was sorry, he loved me, and he was going back to the apartment. When you got out of work, was he there? They asked, and she said no. You never saw him again during this time. She's when was the last time you seen him? Just a few days ago when he was in jail. I went and seen him. That was the last time. The court asked her how many days was he going to work. She said she didn't know, not for sure. She just know that he was gone. So when you go up on a stand and you're trying to testify for the person that you love and you are with, one is tell the truth, do not lie, remember, trace your steps back and remember of what happened in that event. Even if you have to write it down, saying, okay, I remember this. So yeah, so the next thing I want to do is I want to talk about August 1st. She did talk to Mr. Lalone on August 1st. She did talk to him on August 2nd, but she wasn't sure. They only talked for a little bit. She was shocked of what happened. She tried to attempt to contact Mr. MM on the phone to acknowledge have a home phone. We're attempting to reach him. Mr. Lalone's cell phone kept saying he was away. So they asked her more questions, yada yada yada. They told her to step down. The judge was all done with her. Then they asked Mr. Ellis to come up to the stand and stuff. This is where true friends, so-called true friends, what was bad about this was that this friend lied. This friend, so-called friend, lied to the judge, to everyone. Mr. Ellis was on the top apartment. He lived there from, I don't know how, for a long time. They asked, did you know the victim, Miss K? He said, I do know, but I don't know her last name. She lived on the bottom. He lived up top for 3 years and didn't know how long she's been living there. Probably say a year. So he known knew her for like 15, 16 years, he says, but then he switched it and said he didn't know how long she was living there. If you would know if somebody was moving in and out in apartments. So that's kind of strange on me. That kind of hit me right now. He said that the attorney asked how long Mr. Lalone stayed there. He said within maybe 4 days, helping work on some projects or trying to find a job. And he was there approximately 3 to 4 weeks. And they questioned so they asked him on the night of July 31st who was present at the apartment. He said himself, Miss G, Miss W, and his brother BJ. They said that they were just sitting around watching TV, and his brother and Mr. W were drinking, and then I started drinking later on. He said he didn't know for sure what time he went to bed. He didn't know that Miss G, anyone went to bed. They asked him, would it been the incident happened on August 1st or July 31st? He wasn't really sure, but he woke up around 2 o'clock, and Mr. Lalone was going outside, and he was still there by the time he came back, going pee and getting a drink. When he got back from drinking, he said that he looked out and saw Mr. Lalone left. He was probably gone for 5 minutes, and then he came back up. They asked him, did he tell you what he was gone for, or, and he said no, he just went to go grab something and came back. He was writing down on a little piece of paper, and then he said that, and told me that he was leaving a note at her door, and they asked whose door. At Miss K's door. He told him to knock his shit off. That, Miss G was here, and he told him to knock it off. He didn't want any trouble. They asked him if he seen the note. He said no, he did not see the note. So did he leave the house after 2 or upstairs apartment after 2? He said yes, he did. That was the last time he reckoned I remember him leaving, because I was laying down to go to bed. And that's when Miss G remembered asking me where Mr. Lalone was. I said outside. Did he tell you why he went outside or where he was going? He said no, he didn't. When was the next time you saw him? They asked. That would be in the morning. He can't give them a time, but Mr. L was trying to sleep, and next thing you know, he was hearing slamming doors. I told them to knock it off, stop slamming the doors. The next time you talk to Mr. W, Mr. Lalone would have been in the morning. They asked. Daylight, not really yet. He said he was going to a friend's house. He was on the phone. Nervous, happy, sad, still drunk. He didn't realize that any of what was normal. He was just acting normal. He was like, I'm just going to a friend's house. They asked him, did he have any money? As far as he knew, no. They asked him, did he have any clothes in a bag? He did have some clothing in a bag. He said he didn't see what type of clothing in the bag. Why would you go into another person's bag? It was just a plastic bag. They asked him, was he excited to get picked up? He said he was anxious. I'm going to come out and say he was anxious at the time because as far as I knew, he was going to help a friend. That was it. This is where it gets confusing because he says just a few minutes ago when I said they asked him about money, they asked him again, Mr. L, and he says that he now remembers that he did have some money in his Mr. Lalone's pocket. But then in the first thing he said no. So this is where it's getting confused. They asked him, do you remember giving a statement to the police? He said, barely. I was in and out drunk. They asked him again what type of clothes. He's like, I don't know. But then they asked him again. He says that it was a yellow shirt and shorts. And the court says, do you want to impeach him? I think I should at this point. So they impeach him. Then they asked him again, is it possible that he was wearing something else? Answer, it is possibility. When you're drunk, you don't know what you're wearing or, if you change your outfit more than one time. They pretty much are trying to get him. He does say that he remembers that he had his pocket knife. He was downstairs. He did leave a note and stuff. So this is where I want to talk about the so-called victim. So on my next video.